I was doing weddings every single weekend. It's when I first got my bartending, like my first bartending gig. And I did every single culture's wedding.
Right.
You know, Italian culture, Greek, Jewish, Slavic, Russian, everything. And they all have their own, but like the Slavic, like the Russian weddings and like the Jewish weddings, they would be like 600 people, like 600 minimum.
Right.
Minimum.
That's a small one.
When they have a wedding, they would, you know, like the place was so huge and they had like the moving walls where you could like tailor it to the size that you need.
Right.
Every wall from block to block was open and they would have like 600, 800 person weddings. It was wild. And the Russian guys, man, like the Italian guys will like that. Like, come here, do me a favor. And they would give you like, they try to give you money and everything on the side. And, but the Russian guys, like, or some of those guys, I remember I did a wedding one time, or maybe it wasn't Russian, but maybe it wasn't Russian, but they had a band. This is two things. The band would play music the entire time, like 5 hours straight, with hardly stopping. And it was like, they would do these songs, some of them that were like very redundant.
Right.
So it would be like the same chant or the same like riff over and over and over, sometimes for like 40 minutes. And everyone would do this dance together, and it would just be like a two-step where they danced, and the whole place was doing it, almost like a high school 80s movie.
Right.
And and the way that they would pay the band, I don't know if it was a tip. I heard that they don't even pay the band. The band comes as part of the culture, like the neighborhood. Like they come, that's their job to like pay respect to the people that they know. And the band comes, and the people dancing throughout the whole night, singles in their pocket. During the songs, they just take it and they chuck it in the air and chuck it in the air and chuck it in the air. And it's 600 people throwing like 100 singles each for like a 5-hour party, to the point where it was dangerous for us as servers because you couldn't see the floor. It was just singles. And then every like hour, we would have to go with a broom and a garbage bag and just pick up thousands and thousands of
and
singles
give it to the band
and just give it over to the band. So that was unique, right? But
that's sick.
But one time this guy came in and he was like, so they would always say like and I don't want to hear, don't send letters to our PO box. We don't have an address, and I don't think anyone's handwriting a letter. But what I mean is, don't take offense. But I'm not saying all Russian people, but in my experience at this wedding, they would like if you were a worker, they treated you like you were their hired like butler, and they would talk to you like they'd be like, my friend.
Yeah. And
then you walk over, and it was like all couples, and they'd be like, more of everything for everyone here. Like they'd say stuff like that. Like I'd be like, well, there's a menu, and they'd be like, bring us what you have.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, well, it's coursed out, and he's like, come here, bring us the food you have now. And I'd be like, I just walk in the back, I'd be like, look, like they're demanding everything now. And then I just bring it out. But then like if their girlfriend like or something, like they just beckon you. Right. They go, oh, friend. Yeah. And then you'd walk over, and he'd be like, more. So they wanted buckets of beers on the table.
Okay.
So buckets of beers and ice, which is not how you really do it at a wedding.
No.
Not at a really formal event.
No. Yeah, we're not in the parking lot of the Jets game.
They drink. And then they started going, we want bottles on the table.
Right.
Which is, I think, customary for Russians.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, it is. But when you're in a place that is like doesn't always do that, or they didn't ask for it first and then they decided they wanted it. So they're like, bring 2 bottles of vodka and bring more buckets of beer, more. And so what we did then was we served nips.
Okay.
So if they wanted the actual beer, we normally had to pour a beer, but they had them in the nips. So the nips is like an 8-ounce or a little 6-ounce beer. So they would pound them.
Right.
So like by the time I brought a bucket, we're talking 800 people. So they would assign like, I think it was a bartender to every 100 people. Whatever it was, which is, or maybe even more than that, 150. So we had our work cut out for us.
Lot,
and the place, they told us, if someone has to come to your station for a drink, you're not doing your job. So you need to get the drinks to the tables. And by the time they want another one, if they're getting up to you, you're not going fast enough. So it was unreasonable to ask of the workers at 150 people, like 10 tables, 6 tables each. But that made me hustle. Like that really taught me how to bartend a lot. So I would run and do and run. By the time I dropped off 8 nips at a table of 8, whatever it is, they would be done. So everyone was just yelling at me from every table, my friend, more beer for everyone. And they'd just be like that. And I'd be like, yeah, okay. And then I'd come and they'd be like, they'd like take it upon me.
Yeah.
Like they'd be like, what about my wife? And I'd be like, well, what do you want? And she'd be like, what do you want? And then he'd tell her and he'd be like, go get the martini. And I'd be like, okay, go get it.
Go get it.
I'd be like, I thought you wanted the beer. I didn't know it.
Please, no, thank you.
Go get it. So I'm like, whatever. It's my job to be. I'll just listen. It's not like I take it in stride. So I'm bringing everything over. This happened a lot.
Yeah.
And then one time I learned my lesson. So one time I'm like, I'm gonna be proactive. I turned to the woman and I go, is there anything I can get you? And she was like, and I was like, okay. Is there anything I can get you? And she's like, no. And I was like, okay. And I went to the next one. I go, can I get you anything? And then the guy taps me on the shoulder. I go, he goes, come here. He takes me in the corner. He goes, do not talk to the women. And I was like, oh, I was just asking them because you know how you said before, like, what about my wife? So I was like, he goes, no. You don't talk to the women. And I was like, well, how do I know what they want? He goes, do not. And I go, okay.
Yeah.
So then I never spoke to another woman. Now, hold on. Now the bride comes out, right? And the bride and the groom are at the dais alone. This guy is standing on his seat at the dais, and he has 4 Coronas in his hand, 2 in each. He's drinking them. He's going like this.
Yeah.
He's got 4 Coronas. He's standing on his seat. People are whipping singles at him. Right. His bride, again, I don't know if this is the culture, not this their relationship, not I don't know what it is. This is how it was. She was sitting, no drink, head down. Now, not head down like this, but just like just sitting calmly. Like maybe she was having a Zen moment. Maybe that wasn't her style. Maybe he was getting out of control. Maybe she was embarrassed. But it just seemed like she was way more like, let me just sit here because this is how I do it.
Yeah.
And this is how he does it.
Right.
But the bride, and we're taught, like there's the suite where you go, like the suite up before you start there, all the important people go in it.
Like the bridal suite?
The bridal suite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before everyone comes, the bridal suite gets there first, and we're serving them food and drinks. The same thing. They're like, you don't make anyone ask anything in the bridal suite. Yeah. The bride, he goes, drop everything for the bride and groom. The door should be open.
Yeah.
Drop everything for the bride and groom, especially the bride. So this guy has 4 beers in his hand. He's standing on the chair and he's doing the Macarena, whatever he's doing. And so I leaned in and I said, excuse me, miss, like, is there anything I could do for you at all? 10 guys swarmed me, grabbed me, and dragged me to the side.
Dragged you? At work?
I mean, not like you're going to throw me out by the suit, but like, I mean, I was in the middle of speaking, and they came over. They all would go, come on, hold my arms, and guided me away and brought me over there. We said, we told you, you don't ever talk to the bride. And I was like, I'm really sorry. I was like, I don't mean to do anything, but like, didn't mean anything by it, but like, my job is, you guys paid for service, and I'm just making sure that the bride and they were like, no, and then they were like, don't ever come up to them again for the rest of the wedding.
Who your boss told you that?
No, the Russian guys or the people. They told me. Don't ever go back to them again.
I've never heard that. It feels like you did a wedding for ISIS.
I swear to God, dude.
Hey babe. Hey babe. Hey babe.